The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Hey, let's try it this way. The government is my shepherd, I shall not want. It maketh me to lie down in a booming economy. It leadeth me with a robust military budget. It restoreth my patriotism. It leads me in paths of national superiority for its name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of international insecurity, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy guns and thy money, they comfort me. Thou preparest Medicare before me in the presence of all mine enemies. Thou sendest me monthly Social Security checks. My mailbox runneth over. Surely valid citizenship and the right to vote will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the land of the free and the home of the brave forever. Or how about this one? My boss is my shepherd, I shall not want. She maketh me to lie down with generous stock options. She leadeth me beside steady employment. She restoreth my faith in the free market. She leadeth me in paths of meaningful work for her name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of great recessions and depressions, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy casual Fridays and annual bonuses, they comfort me. Thou preparest a corner office before me in the presence of mine competitors. Thou anointest my expense account with perks. My company Amex runneth over. Surely a gold watch and a 401k will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the security of my company pension forever. Or how about this last one? My mom is my shepherd, I shall not want. She maketh me to lie down in clean sheets. She leadeth me to warm bubble baths. She restoreth my appetite. She leadeth me in the paths of health and safety for her name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of puberty and bullying, I will fear no evil, for thou encourageth art with me. Thy meatloaf and mac and cheese, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my neighbors. Thou refreshest me with acceptance and lineage. My Facebook likes runneth over. Surely care packages and an inheritance will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in her spare bedroom forever. Well, I guess it would be a little bit more amusing if it didn't strike so close to home. Of course, it's the Lord who's our shepherd, and with God, we shall not be in want. But on this Good Shepherd Sunday, I can't help but consider to whom I give out false promotions, where I expect the government or my boss or my family to fill in the role that God fills. How I look too much for safety from Washington, for security from my employer, for direction from my family. In our gospel this morning, we hear Jesus call himself the Good Shepherd. It's an analogy that we all get as Jesus describes himself in three ways: as one who will keep us, as one who will care for us, and as one who will guide us. And in this age of COVID-19, when we're all locked up in our houses, rightfully so this morning, but in fear of so many things, we need this important reminder that it is the Lord who is our shepherd, the shepherd who will keep us, who will care for us, and who will guide us. You know, some of you may have seen, we've started a noontime video program. It's called The Lives of the Saints. And it's just a terrific time at noon when I can get together and interview by video conference many of our St. David saints for an hour or so, and then put this interview up on our social media accounts. Well, this week, among others, I had a chance to talk with a parishioner, former Detroit Red Wing and hockey great Bill Collins. And he told me this story I'd like to share with you. It was the late 1960s. It was wintertime, and Bill was playing offense for a hockey team in Baltimore, and he was flying into Cleveland for a game. It was a windy day, and gusts blew in off the lake and across Burke Municipal Lakefront Airport, which is right on the water in downtown Cleveland off Lake Erie. Well, Bill said that as his two-engine prop plane descended, the wind began to rock that aircraft. Thinking about how to land the plane safely, the pilot aborted the first attempt, and then he circled around for another attempt. During that time, he put up, put down, then put up, then put down again the landing gear. Well, that's when the plane came in for its final approach, and that's when the landing gear hit that airstrip, and then tragically, something happened. That landing gear had not locked into place, and it had snapped. And that plane that belly of that plane was left then to skid down the tarmac. The captain did all he could do to keep things steady, but the plane veered off into the grass, and straight ahead was that icy cold water, and inside the plane was the fear that a watery grave might be in store. Well, thankfully, the plane skidded to a stop before it reached the water, and the grateful passengers exited the plane not by walking down a dozen steps or so, or even 3 steps, but, says Bill, by the time he got to the exit, he needed just 1 step to touch the ground. Now, why did Bill tell me this story? Well, it's because I asked him to tell me about a time when God had met him during his hockey career. And Bill told me this story as an example of how God had kept him, how God had been his good shepherd, keeping him safe, keeping him whole. And all of us have our own stories about how God has kept us. Probably we have many. But the key thing to remember is that we all know that when push comes to shove, God, our good shepherd, will keep us, will care for us, will guide us. Many of us know Terry and Mary Ann Moore. It's an elderly African-American couple. They sat in the back of our church back when we were sitting in our church, and they were on the east side of the church toward the back. They're always meticulously dressed. Mary Ann is blind, and she'd come with her cane sometimes, but always it was with her dear Terry that would get her to church and back each Sunday morning. And as we learned last week, Terry died, not of COVID-19, but during the period of lockdown, which means that the funeral gathering will be affected. It's later this week. And those who want to mourn, want to support the family, have only limited options. So I called Mary talked to her a couple times this week to ask how she was holding up. And her response was so sunny, so bright, so hopeful that I could hardly believe it. We talked about her beloved Terry. They've been married for decades, about how he died, about her plans from here, who was going to take care of her. Where was she going to live? How was this blind woman going to get along? And without missing a beat, she stopped me and she says, Father Chris, don't you worry about me. The Lord has always taken care of me. Mary Ann said that she wasn't afraid, not worried, because the Lord, her good shepherd, had kept her from the danger and loss this long and was surely going to continue. Mary Ann knows God as her shepherd, certainly is the one who keeps her, the one who cares for her, and the one who guides her. Back to our interview show on Facebook, The Lives of the Saints, and on Monday I talked with our dear parishioner, Judy Walsh. We had a far-ranging conversation about her career as a teacher, her passion for storytelling, her penchant for travel and for gatherings. And then we began to talk about the pandemic, about how we're getting through it, about how we're coping, about what we're learning. And that's when Judy mentioned a lesson that maybe we've all observed. And that is the importance of living one day at a time, of not worrying about tomorrow, putting things in God's hands, trusting the Almighty for the guidance we need, and trying not to get caught up into that unpredictable future. All of us are concerned about, when are we going to get back to life as normal? What's normal going to look like? And this betrayed Judy's belief in God as her shepherd, as the one who will guide her. Many of us have come to virtual church this morning with a world of worry on our hearts. Will we get sick? Will somebody we love be harmed? What will life on the other side look like? How will we cope? And it is here where the Good Shepherd comes to meet you and me this morning, to remind us God will keep us, God will care for us, God will guide us. Now, friends, the reason this is so important, you hear me repeating it so many times, is because without a sense of our own personal safety and health, it's really hard for us to care for others. And we know that no matter how bad we have it, there are people dying and suffering and losing all kinds of things. And this morning, you and I are witnessing our church as dead center in the COVID-19 pandemic in Oakland County. This is Southfield's most affected city, in the second most affected county, in the third most affected state, in the most affected country in the world. And if you didn't get that, the sermon will be available on text, so you can read that. And while the virus is certainly affecting our health and welfare, I think it's also awakening us to the inequities that we need to get busy about as this pandemic continues to play out and as life gets back to some sort of normality. We need to be trusting in God as our shepherd who is taking care, because this virus is exposing what's already been present in our area, but which is really putting a spotlight on it. The virus, and this is, the virus is showing us that we got a lack of good health care and insurance for too many people. A lack of proper living wage, resulting in poverty that brings people limited access to decent housing and healthy food. A lack of access to safe transportation, making social distancing difficult, if not impossible. And a lack of access to educational opportunities or institutions that can help make a crisis like this one harder on the folks who are least able to cope. Friends, the Lord is our shepherd isn't just good news to us, it's good news to the world. As we get busy with the world that each one of us, with the work that each one of us is called to do, what is that work? How does taking Jesus as our good shepherd anew, as really trusting in him to take care of us, how does that affect our neighbors? Let us ponder our place here and our path ahead as this image of the Good Shepherd comes to us, who's not our government, not our employer, not our relative, but our divine creator who knows every hair on our heads and every thought inside of them, and who promises to keep us, care for us, and guide us all the days of our lives. Amen.